News anchors that pretend to play it straight, shame on you. And don't think for 1 second you're going to get away with it. Nah, those days are over. More later. But joining me now as I de-escalate my heart rate, I welcome from the Board of Governors for the Reagan Ranch and presidential historian Craig Shirley. Craig, thanks for being with me tonight.
You bet, Tommy.
Craig, let's start with the point of contention in that Stephanopoulos exchange, Trump's tax returns. Time to release?
I think it's it's not a matter for George Stephanopoulos to decide. It's a matter for the American people. The American people ultimately decide what they think is important in a presidential candidate and what they think isn't important. We went for 200 years without presidential candidates. Everybody from, Abraham Lincoln and Woodrow Wilson and Franklin Roosevelt and everybody else in between, who didn't return a lot of personal data, including their tax returns after the IRS was instituted in the 1920s. So it's up to the American people to decide what they think is important and what they don't think is important. And I think Trump was right to call out George Stephanopoulos and point out that it's not up to him to decide whether or not he should release his tax returns.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you, especially on the George Stephanopoulos bit there. I wonder, though, we've got folks like Mitt Romney and others claiming that Donald Trump won't release his tax returns because there's a bombshell hidden within them. What do you think?
Mitt Romney really needs to, I think he needs to remember he's a two-time loser. He didn't run for re-election as governor of Massachusetts because he was scared he would lose. His father cut and run on Barry Goldwater in 1964. Mitt Romney carries very little, if any, weight inside of national politics, certainly not inside the Republican Party today. If he mounted a third-party candidacy, I doubt it would get very much support. It would get some inside the Beltway media buzz, but it would collapse very, very quickly. Not only has Mitt Romney's time passed, his time was never here. He is from a different era, a different republicanism, which has been, ever since Ronald Reagan, has been cast aside by the modern Republican Party.
And speaking of these tax returns as well, I watched RNC Chair Reince Priebus on both ABCs this week, as well as Fox News Sunday, among others, where they asked him about Trump's tax returns and if it was time for Trump to hand them over, if it was any of our business. And in both of those interviews, Reince said the same thing. This is a different kind of election, and Donald Trump is a different kind of candidate. Whereas Americans might press folks like Hillary Clinton or other establishment politicians for their tax returns, they don't seem to care about those things with Donald Trump because that's not what they're voting for him on. Has he really changed the playbook?
Oh, I think he has, Tommy. I don't think there's any doubt about it. You know, there's a dialectic to American presidential politics. Every generation or two, a different type of candidate comes along and sends the electorate and the national debate off in a radically different election. Everybody from Thomas Jefferson to Andrew Jackson to Abraham Lincoln to Teddy Roosevelt, Franklin Roosevelt, and then Ronald Reagan. So really, Trump falls within that one or two generation dialectic, and it may be that on his shoulders now it's new historic election, and he's setting the terms of the debate, and he's really, he did everything he wasn't supposed to do, and he won the nomination in a walk, really. So I think it remains to be seen whether or not the intelligentsia is ever going to be right this time, or whether or not Trump's going to be right.
I wonder this as well, Craig. I hear many saying that Trump has forever changed political campaigns in the election cycle, that he's left his mark. Do you think that after these next 4 or 8 years, if Donald Trump is elected, we're going to go back to the same kind of election cycle we're used to?
No, I think every political scientist in America, every campaign operative, every campaign strategist, if Trump makes this, they're going to be studying his techniques and his strategies and his tactics and to figure out how that they can replicate it. I think that it's going to be difficult to replicate it because he is so personality driven that it is more about him. Although he has articulated a certain set of issues that have resonated with the American people, whether it's from the wall or ISIS or the economy or corruption in Washington. He's talking about things that people in their churches, around bars, in other places where they gather at the back, swapping stories in their backyard across the fence. He's talking about things that is on their minds, even as Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton are not talking about those things.
I agree with you 100%, but I do think that Trump is an anomaly in a different case. I don't think that many others could replicate it for two reasons. One, Trump is self-funded for the most part. He doesn't need their money, so he's a big difference to any political candidate that's going to be brought up, unless we have another billionaire that's going to be running for president in the future. But otherwise, he's self-funded, so he doesn't really have to care about endorsements or special interests as much as other politicians. And two, he's coming in at a time where Americans are very frustrated, and we are looking for that outsider. We're tired of the establishment. Hillary represents the epitome of the establishment. So I think that that's where we're headed with Donald Trump. I don't think it's going to be easy to replicate, though. Last question for you.
I'm sorry. No. I absolutely agree with you, and I think that Hillary is making a big mistake by saying that she's going to have her husband handle the economy. That's like taking poison twice. Not only is she an establishment candidate, now she's going to have the economy handled by an even bigger establishment candidate. And the American people, they don't want to hear it. She has to change the terms of the debate. She can't change herself. She can't change her resume. She has to figure out how to change the terms of the debate. And so far, she hasn't done so.
Well, what she's going to continue to do is throw out the woman card and then pull Bill in when he's convenient, but then also shun him when he's inconvenient for her. And we're going to watch her squirm, and I think that Donald Trump is really going to bring up a lot of the things that Hillary would rather bury. So it's going to be an interesting next few months. Craig, thanks for being with me tonight. Next, 2 weeks ago, we lost a Navy